rest of the world sleeps, whilst our country remains a garbage can, and George Floyd, a powerless man. He was someone's son, yet he couldn't be saved by anyone. No one. 217 years ago, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, spoke to millions across the country. As I read this on Independence Day, I can hear his words being spoken. He had a dream that one day this nation would rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Equal. 57 years have passed, yet we are not free at last. I'm seething with anger and sobbing in pain when I look at the police and their torturous reign. I may appear dogmatic, and that may be true. But do we have to wait until they murder one of you? Murder. This was a public execution. There was intent to kill. To society, those police are pollution. Yet some people stand with them still. Our country has to change. That's the only way to heal. So much change has been promised, but it is yet to be real. And the officer had disrespected the neck on which he would kneel. This is why I know what's happening. This is why life is scary. This is why we become dysfunctional in our society and in our community. This is why we must fight back for our strength and for our glory. This is why other countries snicker at us while hearing of our story. This is why people hide, and this is why people hate. Yet our voices can change the tide of something that should not even be a debate. Why should this have happened in Minneapolis? Because nothing. Why should this have happened in Minnesota? Because nothing. Why should this have happened in the United States? Because nothing. Why should this have happened to a human being on this earth? It shouldn't have.
Hello. My name is Aisha Youssef. I am 28 years old and I am a Fairfax, Virginia resident, born and raised. And today I was asked to come and speak because my lineage is African American and Indigenous as well. Indigenous on my mother's side, Powhatan, Blackfoot, Cheyenne, and Cherokee. And at this moment I would like to take a minute to honor the people whose land that we are on. I would like to honor the Cherokee and the Powhatan, whose people are in the tribes that were inhabitant of Virginia, and also to honor the tribes that were inhabitant of DC and Maryland as well, and to just honor that this is their land, this is our land, and this is the land that we all stand on, and we should all honor that and honor the people who were here first. As today is so-called Independence Day, but Independence Day for who? This year alone marks 401 years since slave ships were brought onto Turtle Island, what we call Turtle Island as Indigenous people. And over time, as we see, people in this country don't honor us or value us or see us as human. Indigenous people are one of the most harmed and one of the most disrespected people on this planet. Not just in this country, but also never seen as human. In most cases, they are seen as subhuman, and they are not seen as worthy of living. Whether it's a pandemic that we're in right now, or if it's just a regular day, Black people and Indigenous people have to fight harder than anybody else in this world to live lives that are safe, and that we don't have to think about the fact that we could just walk out the door, we could be sleeping in our beds, we could be doing literally anything and just be killed on the spot. Because police officers and those who fear us, because we have many powers in this world that we hold, and they are scared of that. And because of that, they are willing to just go out without warrant and kill us for no reason. And it's really, really sad, and it's painful and hurtful. And I just want to honor all of you who were able to make it today to come to this rally. And all the parents will bring this on, because this is a good cause. We need to be fighting for this every single day of our lives. No matter whether we're in a pandemic, no matter if it's up on the news, no matter if we know their names, we need to be fighting for this every single day, because we are all very important to this world, and we all need to remember that. The darker your skin is, the more likely you are on to be attacked by other people. And we need to honor that people with darker skin are valued. People with darker skin are valued. Because we don't always feel that when we walk out the door. We don't feel that we are valued, and we don't feel that we have the rights that we deserve. Because there's a thing, you know, the fact that we are only asking for civil rights and not wanting to basically like burn down this whole country is, you know, it's ridiculous, because you can ask me, and 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 you can ask me nicely, and you can say it to me, and you've been going on the street, and you've been wearing ties, and you've been yelling in the with the NFL, and you've been doing everything, all these things. And yet, are you listening? Do you hear us? Do you see us? Are we here? There are Indigenous people right now who are fighting over at Mount Rushmore, so-called Mount Rushmore. The Black Hills is very sacred to the Lakota people. I've been there myself with my mother, and it's very sacred to their people, and it's ridiculous that we even have to fight because we wanted to build monuments to slave owners, to people who killed Indigenous people. We want to have monuments to them, and then people want to get mad when we want to tear them down. We shouldn't be honoring those people. We can tell the histories. We can tell the histories. We don't need to have those monuments. And we don't need to have an NFL team that has a racial slur. Because to Indigenous people, Redskins is a racial slur. And it's not just the name, it is also the mascot. We don't need to be having a chief's head as the mascot of the national team. And we don't need to have that word. And as an Indigenous person who is also black, it is a little heartening when I see black people who wear the headdress when they go to football games. And it needs to end, because we don't need to be having that at all. And so I just wanted to bring it home that this is an issue that we should all care about, and I want to honor all of you for coming, because we don't always see heard, and we don't always feel that we are valued in this world. And it's really hard to live in a country that we built, that is ours, that we have to fight for every single day, even though the land is ours. And we don't even look at it that way. It's not ours in the sense that we own it. It's ours in the sense that we inhabit this land, and this is our place where our ancestors put up camps and put in fairs. And we're very vocal here. And we don't feel honored, and we don't feel that our ancestors are being treated in the way that they should and honored, and we don't feel honored to this day. And so I feel like we need to be honoring more black people and more Indigenous people on these lands, because we built it and because this land is ours. And we need to be giving black people reparations like now, because, hello, like 401 years? Come on now. That's way overdue. Thank you.
Okay, can you hold this?
Her whole life, experienced segregation, and was even arrested for protesting it. I remember she told me she never thought she would see a black president in her lifetime, but she did. I'm not sure what she thought of police brutality, but I'm here to fight for the justice she never got to see. I'm here to carry out and live her dream. She would probably have an aneurysm over the fact that this is like my 5th protest, and I've protested in DC, but I want to do everything that I can. A few weeks ago when I was in DC, I was asked what my sign meant. My sign said, "I am not a threat."
I replied, I am nobody's threat because all I want to do is to grow up and be a successful black woman and travel the world, and I see no problem with that. I wasn't really satisfied with my answer because it's so much deeper than what I had said. I've been told I'm intimidating, but why? I've never understood. I'm goofy, always laughing, almost everyone I know towers over me. Is it the way that I walk through the halls? The confidence I exert even though I don't know what I'm doing or what's going on sometimes? Or is it the fact that I'm an intelligent, secure black girl? People seem to be afraid of that. I say I'm not a threat because people always seem to be afraid of us and I just don't get it. I surround myself with black people as much as I can, whether it's my family or friends, and they're my favorite people in my life. And to imagine them in a situation where they have to beg for their life because they're threatening seems absolutely absurd and heartbreaking to me. The black people in my life are hardworking, smart, caring, funny, talented, passionate, all of the above. Black people overall are creative. We're trendsetters, we're inventive, we're the blueprint for movements, we look out for each other. I guess our success and potential for more of it is what's scary. But police don't see those qualities. When they look at us, they see drug dealers. They see thugs, gang members, liars, thieves, killers. They see threats. This is why one of my biggest fears when I got my license is to get pulled over by the police. It's not getting a dent in my car, not even getting into an accident. It's the people supposedly protecting me because they won't care that I'm on my way to my gymnastics academy to work hard for 4 hours. I've been doing it basically my entire life and I've been competing for 9 years. The feeling of pride I get in myself after getting a skill could be taken away from me. They won't care that I'm going to work where I coach preschoolers in our level 3 team. They won't care that I'm running a quick errand for my mom. They'll care that I'm living while black. I'm afraid they'll make assumptions just because my music is loud. I'm afraid they'll lie through their teeth and say I was being argumentative and disrespectful when I was simply speaking, which happens often. I'm afraid that me looking for my license and registration will be seen as previous to violence and result in me dead. My last words will be filled with struggle and fear. I can't even imagine how much stronger that fear is for black men, black people with disabilities, or black people part of the LGBTQ community. I have ambitions, and big ones. Sometimes I'm afraid I won't accomplish them. Not because I'm not capable, but for the same reason I'm here, because my life could be stolen from me. People in power should be afraid right now. Why? Because this revolution has just begun. We are ruthless, and this better be the last generation fighting for this. I don't want my last words to be don't shoot. I want them to be we did it. Thank you.
I just want to say it's great to see so many, I know I'm a young person, but so many younger people than me just out here organizing, out here protesting. And this movement really shows that it's not just us anymore. It's not just people that looks like me. It's really a movement led by everybody. And I just want y'all to give yourselves a round of applause for that. So this is what solidarity looks like. Please take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate those standing by your side in this fight. Because if you've ever wondered where you'd be during the civil rights movement, this is that moment. So I ask, which side are you on? With every passing movement for justice, the coalition keeps growing stronger and it keeps growing larger. Be thankful for that. In this moment, we've managed to cultivate the largest civil rights movement in history. That's all 50 states. That's abroad, that's in London, that's in France, that's in the Netherlands, that's everywhere. This is a multiracial, multi-generational, international movement led by the youngest among us. For this movement to continue to meet the moment like it has thus far, we must look to our forefathers who set the foundation for this and for us, while also looking within ourselves. We must be like Angela Davis, one of the many legendary civil rights activists whose full story was likely omitted from your standard history book, and focus on changing the things we cannot accept instead of accepting the things we cannot change. We must be like Martin and make his theoretical dream into a concrete reality, and like Malcolm X, pursue justice by any means necessary. And that is not a call to violence. We don't fight fire with fire, but there's nothing wrong with turning up the flame some. Whilst always remember that a riot is the voice of the unheard, and we also must acknowledge that those who delegitimize a largely nonviolent protest movement, desire a peace that is absent of tension rather than ensuring the presence of justice. So I ask again, what side are you on? This is why we say no justice, no peace. For how long have we been pleading for more allies? Pleading on the doorsteps of Congress, pleading at the courthouses, pleading at the school board meetings, just pleading to be heard. We must understand that protest is inherently anything but peaceful. That is why we say no justice, no peace. It is disruptive, it is uncomfortable, it is revolutionary, it is necessary, and most importantly, it is an uprising against societal conditions that have led so many to the streets, despite in the midst of a global pandemic. Notice how our politicians tell us to vote, but not a single vote was cast. Yet our leaders have been pushed into doing in a few weeks what should have been done decades ago. Not a single vote dictates how we treat one another, nor how we think about one another. You cannot legislate culture, showing that it certainly does matter who we elect, but it is also imperative that we pay attention after Election Day. Let's be honest here. The death of George Floyd was simply a spark 400 years in the making. George Floyd was all but the last straw. This is bigger than black versus white. It's everybody versus racism. Our leaders, public servants, they call themselves, thought providing a one-time stimulus check that many college students and young people were left out of over a 4-month period would meet the moment. They thought equipping police with military-style gear while depriving our healthcare workers on the front lines of personal protective equipment met the moment. They thought that denying healthcare as a human right met the moment. They thought that rampant homelessness met the moment. They thought that mass unemployment met the moment. And now today they think another failed bid at police reform will meet the moment. So today, I want to leave you with a call to action. Firstly, if you see something, say something. Commit to being more than not racist, be an anti-racist. An ally that fights racism in their home, in their school, at work, with their votes, and most importantly, with your dollar. Educate yourself on the true history of this country. Compile a radical, bold, and revolutionary reading list. This can be done with a simple Google search. Lastly, let's talk about police reform. When we say defund the police, that doesn't mean that we leave our communities underfunded and underdefended. What that means is that we finally create a system that isn't by the threat of violence, that isn't by the threat of incarceration, and instead allocates funds to services that can help the homeless, that can help people with mental problems, that can help people with health problems, and finally get first responders that truly care and are equipped to help the community. That's not a call for things to fall apart as a society. That's a call to finally build our society up in a way that finally treats everyone with fairness and dignity. Guys, thank you for listening to me today, and I appreciate everyone who's come out, and especially those who organized this march. Thank you.
My experience with protesting and becoming more active in different communities, and before May 31st, I had absolutely no interest in anything political. I felt like it was a drain on my energy, and it got me into needless fights with people, and it just wasn't worth my time. And as I've been to more protests and I helped organize one, I realized that my concept of what is political was completely wrong and was keeping me and my community and my peers disempowered. So what I've come to understand is that politics are a way of conceptualizing and organizing your energy to make a world that you feel is worth being in. So to me, politics is figuring out where my taxes go and supporting the most marginalized communities. So people who are disabled, people who have struggles with addiction and mental health issues, people who are queer, people who are sex workers, people who engage in jobs that are very, very dangerous, but they don't get the necessary precautions. My idea of politics is making it so that people can access healthcare whenever and whenever they need it for whatever purpose that they need it for, free of cost. My concept of politics is making it so that people who truly want to make the world a better place are the ones who are in office, not just because of nepotism, not just because it pays well, and not just because, you know, that's kind of just the status quo. And what else I've realized is that my concept of the world is also extremely skewed. And I've been understanding the world from the perspective that people with my values are the one who have the power to influence change and make it so that other people have a certain way of living. So I want you to raise your hand if these values apply to you. So raise your hand if I say a value that you also hold. Honesty, safety, trust, compassion, love, unity, and integrity. So I want you to look around, see who's raising their hand. It seems like everybody has these values. But what I've come to understand and really see in these horrifying things that are coming out about politicians, about people in education systems, people who are public defenders, people who are police officers, that not everybody has these values. There are people who are willing and take enjoyment in harming other people, whether that's lynching, whether that's covering up murder, whether that is sexually assaulting somebody, whether that's trafficking somebody, whether that's stealing land from another person, whether that's defacing actual monuments like the Six Grandfathers. There are people who are so willing to harm another person, and it's the people who aren't willing to look at them and dismantle those people's powers that make it possible. So when we make it possible for racist and transphobic and homophobic young people to go out of high school right into college without alerting their college institutions, we're allowing that to happen. When we overhear nurses or doctors talking about how, you know, that black woman over there, like, she's being so dramatic, like, I bet she's just trying to get pain medication. We're allowing that to happen. When we make fun of disabled people by calling them the R word or making spaces completely inaccessible with no working elevators, with improper ramps, we're allowing that to happen. And I want everybody to understand that they have so much power and they have so much intelligence and the opportunity to change things no matter what society tells you. No matter what society makes you feel like you need to look like, or you need to sound like, or you need to have certain hobbies. Nobody can take away any of your personal worth. And one thing that makes me really passionate is seeing people here and knowing that for every person who's here, we're creating a ripple out into the world that is changing things. And on July 4th, this is such a monumental day to not engage in spending any money for the economic blackout, to bring our protesting out into the economic sphere. Because what really dominates this world is the social construct of money. So when you buy from organizations that fund prison labor, which is almost every single brand that you can imagine, from Victoria's Secret to Target to Bounty to like Afrin nasal spray, things benefit off of the harming of other people. So if you can educate yourself and you can vote with your dollar, put your money into black-owned businesses, put your money into people who have disabilities who are creating products, put your money into black banks, you're voting with your dollar. And that really speaks in this economy. And another thing that I want to say is that the way that capitalism intersects with sexism, that intersects with ableism, that intersects with transphobia, homophobia that intersects with racism, all of the links are there. And if you think that we can extricate the future of the United States from the past, where we have come into native land and we have declared independence from Britain because they told us we couldn't go past the first 13 colonies and steal land from native people, if you think that we can extricate the 400 years of systemic racism and oppression that we've placed on Black and Native people, if you think that we can take forced poverty on disabled people or forced poverty by being racist to people in certain environments or redlining or gerrymandering or imposing property taxes on certain zip codes that underfund schools, we cannot escape that reality and just plop ourselves into a new reality that we're trying to imagine. So what I'm really calling for is for people to understand that whatever you see around here, you see these beautifully furnished buildings, you see no homeless people, you see no police officers. This is not what the rest of the country looks like. There was an independent investigation on the lower half of the United States, so like the southern bit, and it was decided that by any objective measures, the southern half of the United States is a third world country. There is complete inaccess to health care for queer people. There is insurmountable poverty that plagues generations. There are oil spills, there are toxic waste dumps that are poisoning water, and it's all going on in this country. So when we look at this country as a whole, and we are looking at 40 million people in poverty, and we're looking at 1 in 3 Black men being put into the prison system in their lifetime, we're looking at 1 in 13 Black people not being allowed to vote, we're looking at Black women having a 2 to 6 times higher likelihood of dying in childbirth, we're looking at Black trans youth having a 33 times higher likelihood of attempting suicide in their life, we're looking at the life expectancy of a Black trans woman to be 35 in the US. We're looking at genocide, and we're looking at it in the United States. So when you hear people calling for defunding the police, you're looking at systemic change that takes place in economic spheres or political spheres. These are all super overdue. And when I hear people calling for defunding the police, the thing that comes into my head is that people all over the world have existed without the police. And they did it because they had personal and community accountability for their members. They had people who really engaged with their values. They had people who understood their impact on one another. They understood that taking care of the land and taking care of one another were one and the same concept. And so when we call for defunding the police, it starts from taking personal accountability for yourself and your community members. So if you see somebody struggling to pay for food, it's, asking them, hey, can I pay for that? When you see somebody trying to steal something that they just need, like menstrual products or food or medical supplies, just asking them, hey, can I pay for that? When you see somebody, in a bus fare and you have like 10 extra bucks to pay, just putting it and paying it forward. It's when people have struggles advocating for themselves in medical settings, saying, hey, can I help you make this appointment? Can I come with you? And when we call for defunding the police, it's taking what we think the police do. We think that police protect other people. We hope that the police are championing for other people's rights. It's taking that out of a misused and corrupt system and putting it back into our own power. Everybody in this space and in this whole world has the power to stand up for what's right and address homophobia and address racism, and they have the opportunity to address inequality and things that are going wrong in the world. And what I really think has gone wrong in humanity's timeline is passing off your personal power to other people. It's all within you. You have the power to break up with your racist partner. You have the right to tell off your parents. You have the right to stop paying your racist landlord and move out. You have the power to transform your home into something that is a little bit more ecologically friendly, like with solar panels. You have all this power. So my main message is that whatever you think can't be accomplished, but you wish it could be, it can be. Because anything that you can imagine can happen in this world. So never give up your power. Thank you so much.
Please feel free to make a change. Please feel free to talk to your higher ups. Lobby for change. Make this world a better place. Make this community a better place for everyone. Now, for all of you, talk about everything that's going on. Don't just talk at the protests. Don't just talk at the marches. Make those uncomfortable conversations, just everyday occurrences, to people who may not want to talk about them, but it's important to get the word out. All right, thank you.
SROs be removed from all Fairfax County public schools. This is because of the school to prison pipeline in which Black and brown and Hispanic students are constantly vilified by the police in our schools. They are arrested at higher rates than non-POC students, than non-Black, non-Hispanic, than white students. This is unacceptable. The main thing when we talk about SROs being removed from schools is always what will happen if there's a school shooting. That's the reality of America. We have to be scared of school shootings. This isn't just a one-phase problem where it's police. It's all about gun control. It's about equality. It's about equity in our communities, in the United States in general. SROs have not been proved to prevent school shootings or stop school shootings while they're happening. Look at Parkland. The SRO ran away. There were gunshots and he ran away. How can we trust these men if they're too scared to protect us? If they're too scared to enforce equality in our schools? It's unacceptable that this is the reality in America. And I'm asking all my white friends here to speak up, to start talking about it. Talk to your family members. Talk to your racist friends. Talk to everyone you know, because it's our voice that makes change. We are going to be able to vote, and we need to vote these evil politicians out, the politicians that are not protecting us. But the reality also is that voter suppression is very real, and it mostly affects people of color. 1 in 13 Black Americans are unable to vote because they were charged with felony. It is unacceptable that this is happening. We need to change that. Felons deserve the right to vote. They deserve the right to have their voices heard because they are members of our community. Reformed convicts need the right to vote because that is how they are able to have their voices heard. Taxation without representation, that is real. That is happening in DC. That is happening with felons in America, and that is unacceptable. There are so many things we need to change, and it can feel very overwhelming at times, and it can be taxing. It can take a toll on your mental health. It can be scary, but we have to continue our fight. We cannot stop fighting. So I'm asking all of you to continue to keep the energy up, to keep the energy up with your friends, to keep the energy up with your family. It's not just about holding politicians accountable. It's about holding our community accountable. It's about creating equality amongst ourselves. Thank you. Not just in places like Minnesota, not just in places that make the national news, but in our own community. We need to fight for this. We need to keep the same energy up. Thank you. Thomas, Deion Johnson, Toby Wiggins, Jaqueen Light, Samuel Mallard, Benjamin Smith, Lavelle Kennan, William Holmes, Herbert Gilbert, Cedric Mifflin, Leroy Brown, Ryan Joseph, Kujan Ray, Frank Clark, Najir Salam, George Richard Mayer, Jerome Damon, Jeffrey Smith, Alton Sterling, Marquise Alston, Devontae Gates, Rodney Walls, Markinson Sandlin, Che Taylor, Eric Senegal, Dominic Hutchinson, Ricky Ball, Fritz Sevier, Colby Robinson,
Nicholas Thomas, Denzel Brown, Janisha Fonville, Maurice Gordon, Sean Lee Furr, Michael Taylor, Barry Gideus, William Green, Michael Dean, Christopher Whitfield, Tatiana Jefferson, Melvin Watkins, Chinara Feep, Joseph Richardson, Ryan Twyman, Kevin Pudlick, Isaiah Lewis, Marcus McVeigh, Marzia Scott, Kevin Mason, Gregory Griffin, Jimmy Atchison, Danny Washington, Jacob Quinton, Charles Servais, James Roundtree, Cynthia Fields Leatherwood, Washington, Rayshawn Washington, Anthony Green, Antoine Rose, Robert White, Marcus David Peters, Juan Jones, Danny Thomas, Stevan Clark, Cameron Hall, Mario Bass, Michael Ezef, Darian Baker, Ronald Foster, Corey Mobley, Arthur McAfee Jr., John Balin, Michael Wilson, John Pierre, Keita O'Neill, Lawrence Hawkins, Calvin Toney, Dubois Lister, Anthony Ford, Charles Robinson, Isaiah Tucker, Brian Easley.
Dewan Guillory, Aaron Bailey, David Jones, Mark Davis, Rico Holden, Jordan Edwards, Alteria Woods, Reynard Burton, Chad Robertson, Nana Ojameko, Darian Barnhill, Junior Williams, Andrew DePizza, Christopher Sowell, Alfred Alongo, Terrence Crutchers, Lavania Riggins, Donnell Thompson, Dalvin Hollins, Deravis Raquanmore, Christopher Davis, Dyson L. Perkins, Eric Garner, David Joseph, Trani Scott, Keith Childers, Betty Jones, Kevin Matthews, Michael Noel, Miguel Espinal, Nathaniel Pickett, Jamar Clark, Benny Tignor, Anthony Ashford, Junior Prosper, Neith McLeod, India Kager, Felix Kumi, Ashams Manley, Christian Taylor, Davis Darius Stewart, Victoria LaRosa, Chris Jackson, David Felix, Chapman Shepard, Scott, Eric, Salvador Aswood, Spencer McCain, Brandon Glenn William, Frank, William Chapman, Frank Shepard, Walter Scott, Eric Jones, Bobby Gross, Anthony Hill,
Nishla Spinzon, Thomas Allen, Laval Hall, Jeremy Artago, Howard, Rayshard Brooks, Rayshard Scales, Joshua Johnson, Tamir Rice, Keith Collins, Jordan Griffin, Nicholas Walker, Benny Branch, Stephen Murray, Dwayne Watkins, Bashar Hassan, Malhan Samaru, Daryl Richards, James Kitchen, Ricky Boyd, Mitchell, Geraldo Thompson, Aries Clark, Christopher Wade, Lorenzo Cruz, Chance Baker, Jerome Allen, Juanice Hayes, Roy Richards, Tyree King, Sherman Evans. And those are the ones we were able to fit on a two-sided poster. 1, 3, 1, 2. 1, 3, 1, 2. 1, 3, 1, 2. 1, 3, 1, 2.
Matter.
Black disabled.
Lives matter.
Black disabled.
Lives matter.
Black disabled.
Lives matter. Lives matter. Lives matter. Lives matter. Lives matter.
Black poor workers, black people who are refugees. I mean all black people. Scream it! All black!
Lives matter.
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 All black!
Let's say no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.